The name of the show is The Way to Go. My name is Alan Bendich. I'm going to be your host. Tonight's guest is Max Bendich, my dad. Hi, Dad.
Hi, son.
How are you?
Alan, I'm fine.
Me too. You know, I was thinking, now that Aaron's at Vassar.
Yes.
He's going to be a senior next year.
Oh.
And he's going to be, actually this summer,
Look how fast.
I know,
look
it's
how
unbelievable.
Alan, look how
And he's not coming home this summer because he's going to be, he's the station manager for his, the radio show, station in Poughkeepsie. It's not just at Vassar, but it's for the whole Poughkeepsie area. And Kara is now going to be going to college next year. She's going to be going to Wesleyan. It's like all of a sudden we're approaching that empty nest, syndrome situation. So it's kind of sad,
I don't remember, seriously. I told you, you and my other two children, you know more about it than me.
Right.
But I don't remember when the three of you were away and we were alone.
Well, I'll tell you when because we used to go to summer camp too, so at least we used to get summers. Like Mimi is 9 years older than me, right? So she was gone way before David and I. And then David, he lived downstairs, and then he was gone with medical school and all this stuff. So I was basically the last one. And when I went to Binghamton, then in like 1972, that was the time when you were alone with Mom. But you were also working still. So you and Mom always worked together.
Yes.
So it didn't matter whether we were home or not, you guys still worked.
And because we worked together, we were able to come to a, where we don't have to stay there the weekend or something.
Right.
And we used to come up to see you.
Right. Not often.
You couldn't.
No, but that wasn't as much. I think you used to work on Saturdays. So you did work on Saturdays in the 70s.
Saturday was the day.
Right. So when we were away, you were actually working all the time. The only day you had off, and you didn't have that much time off, was Sunday. So I don't think whether we were there or not, it didn't really make that much difference in the 70s at this point, because you already had your schedule late. You knew exactly what you had to do every day.
I know.
And it was the same.
I made it that way.
Right, right. So Sunday at least was a time that you could rest a little bit, but that was it. And then back to work on Monday. So and maybe you did the books. Maybe you did the books on Sunday. I don't even know.
Alan, I don't remember.
But I remember you used to do the books manually in a marbled notebook.
I still have them.
I know.
Alan. That is what I'm telling you. I forgot.
Why?
Because it was natural for me to do this and to do that.
And I tell people about this all the time. Even at work, I talk about how you used to just have everything on the marbled notebook written, and then you go straight down and put the number at the end, and then straight down. You go straight down. You'd be able to add up those numbers just looking straight down.
I don't know how it happened. I was good at numbers.
I know, but so good. I'm talking about being able to just look at a row of numbers and then know exactly what it was on the bottom. That was the thing that was fascinating to me.
But again, let me fast forward.
Okay.
So Mom and I would go to Las Vegas.
I know.
Alan, first of all, we went to Las Vegas because my brother was in Sun City.
Yeah, Uncle Joe.
But
right.
How did I become so good? I became good at numbers.
Especially blackjack.
No, I'm not talking yet about
I'm talking about numbers.
And to find out that when you played blackjack, and that was when you play blackjack, numbers have to come to you. Why? How many kings are out? How many aces? Right? And I remembered them. And even though they were trying to get me out of there a couple of times,
yeah.
I'll never forget, Alan, the very first time, Mom and I go to Las Vegas, and we go to the Sands Hotel, and we have a room and everything else, and I start playing blackjack. And Alan, I didn't stop winning.
I know, you couldn't lose. You couldn't lose.
Alan, I don't understand it. It kept on and on. But it was a long time. I'm joking when I tell you, maybe they had to carry me. I must have been tired. And Alan, I came in,
I know,
forget about the number.
Right.
I won a lot of money.
I know, I remember. And that was on your way to visit me.
Yes.
I know.
That's the only reason we went, Alan.
I know.
And sometimes, most of the times, I had 1 or 2 grandchildren with me.
Well, sometimes you came just with Mom.
Well, in the beginning,
I mean, most of the times, because you only came with the grandchildren a couple of times, but you used to come all the time to, and I get you on television shows, right, Pop? I mean, we had fun.
And how I knew numbers, I don't know, and it was good. But I'm again, I'll tell that I'm a sore loser. So here I'm winning all the time. Alan, I'm winning all the time. One day I go and play, booing about it. $100 don't mean anything.
Right.
Here I used to $1 here. Now I'm talking about $100. $100, boom.
Right.
All right. The first time I lost, it's about time I lose. The next day, boom.
Right.
I'll never forget. 3 days in a row I lose. Dorothy, let's go home.
And Mom said what?
Mom said, no, look, you're winning. And after that, I started to win again. But Alan, it was a terrible feeling. I couldn't even look at. Here I lost $300.
Meanwhile, you won how many thousands?
But Alan, that's a lot of money. But how could it have happened? I don't know.
So anyway, going back to where I started off about Cara, and now Cara.
Wait, now again. So about Cara. We used to live up near Yonkers, and I would come up to see you. So I would take out Aaron.
Aaron, right.
I would take Aaron in the
in the stroller.
In the carriage.
Right.
But when we were upstairs, Aaron and Cara, we would play games. You had a couch.
Yeah.
They would be hiding behind the couch to try to fool me, and I'd make sure that they fooled me. And the atmosphere or the...
Well, I'll tell you about Aaron. Aaron used to do something called the Aaron Show, and he would just entertain us, and we have it on tape, thank God, but it was like really great. And then Cara, who's 3 years younger than Aaron, would imitate Aaron as he was doing the show. So Aaron would be doing some crazy stuff, and Cara would be walking around doing some crazy. It was amazing. But Cara always seemed to be in the background, and Aaron was like, the one that was always demonstrating and being in the forefront.
Those 3 years, believe it. Look, with me,
yes,
and I have 2 brothers. It was 2 years,
right,
and yet their friends were not my friends,
right,
and my friends. In other words,
right.
Those 2 years were like a million. Right. Nobody, and not only me, that's how it happens all the time. Here it is the same thing.
Right. But you know what? So Cara's in the background, right? And and Aaron is the one who's demonstrating all the time, and doing whatever he has to do. But she was in the background, but she wasn't just in the background. She was like
she was continuing with Alan, with Aaron.
Right.
She was doing really. She and Aaron and me.
Right. But you know what? Everyone's different, right? I mean, you have 3 brothers. You, Joe, and Aaron. Each one is different personalities, different ways of handling things. Aaron was always a person who had an unbelievable memory and was confident in what he knew. So he'd be able to concentrate on something or even know it from class and do very well in school. Cara was a studier, but she would always do that in the background. You wouldn't, like Mom always said. She used to say, "Aaron, you better watch out. You'll never see her coming. She's she's coming. She's coming." And Mom was right. Mom was right.
Please, you had one thing I could tell you. You had a wonderful grandmother.
I know. I'm talking about your wife. I'm talking about I'm talking about Mom.
About Mom?
Yeah, Mom. I mean, my grandparents never knew Cara or Aaron. I'm talking about Mom. When I say Bubby, I'm talking about Mom.
Mom, they never knew.
They only knew Mom. But Mom was. But Mom would always say, to Aaron, she's a smart cookie, and about Cara. And now she's the salutatorian of the Mamaroneck High School.
It wasn't that fast.
I know.
And then little other Alan, little, like you say, little bit, and even though I was there many times,
right?
It was for my benefit, believe it or not.
Well, it was for everyone, because as much as you got, they got.
I know it, but Alan.
It's because that's what family is, right? I mean, everyone benefits from everybody else. And how lucky are they that they were able to have you and Bubby and Nana and Norm
Look.
and Grandpa. Right.
Oh,
And the luckiest part is that you're still here, because the odds were that you would probably be the first to go out of all of them, because you were older than Mom, you were older than Rose and Norm.
That's why we never talked about dying.
Right.
Never, Alan.
Right.
In other words, we knew it was going to happen.
Right.
And it never occurred to us.
Right.
And little by little, we didn't die. And we were getting older.
It's still
and the
amazing.
children,
Right.
and little by little, they were getting
older.
And all I remember is both of them were hiding behind a couch, and I'm sitting there.
Right.
And again, Alan, they made Mom and I young.
But it's tough though. Now that Kara's going to be leaving, Wendy and I are looking at each other saying, now what do we do? Because most of our married life was taking care of the kids. Mm-hmm. And now the kids don't need us anymore. Oh, they still need us, but they don't need us to the same extent that they needed us before. So it's, then, all of a sudden I'm looking at Wendy, she's looking at me, and it's just us two in the house. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, because it happened to you.
But I have a saying.
Yes.
Silence is just as important as talking.
Right.
Maybe even more.
I know.
Because between two people, most of the time, there is silence.
Right.
We have to understand how to make that silence. And I think I became good at that.
Right.
Why? Because there comes a time you don't talk. You could read the
But
paper.
I think when you and Mom were together, you did a lot more talking. I think the silence now is with the new girls. But I remember you and Mom talking all the time, about all kinds of things. And
well, maybe at that time it was seriously it was a little political or something like that. But the whole thing we talked about was the family.
I know, the grandchildren, the children.
The whole thing, the grandchildren.
Right.
And again, even though I have life is good on the hat,
right.
Even though I have life, that was my attitude for as long as I can remember.
Right.
And again, I told you many times, we never thought about it. We knew people are going to die, and look how lucky
I know,
we
you
are.
say this.
Alan,
I know.
look how lucky.
I know.
Mom was the one, the natural one.
I know.
And we have Elaine.
Right. She's passed away. And now Al. Al was a shocker, though. I'll tell you, Al going to me was a shocker because of how, your cousin Albert, even though 85 is an old age, to me, he was always, he was still working. He was still intellectual, he was still, vigorous. He was working out all the time. And for him to pass away was a little bit shocking.
And to show you something else, the New York Times gave him some write-up.
I know. Well, a lot of places did.
Okay, I still have the papers.
Right.
And I see, any kind of events, Alan. I have up there when Kennedy was shot, and I have the full papers. And not only because of the incidents that happened, how are things alive? The advertisements in there, for the cars, for this, and you buy this store, this, and you see the difference, how things were at that time.
Right.
And the conclusion of everything was part of our life, Alan.
I know. I even think back, I remember my friend Ronald Rubenstein, okay? And he and I used to go to Bronx House, which was a club, a place that we had music lessons and clubs, and it was a nice place on Pelham Parkway in the Bronx.
I want to interrupt you.
Yeah.
They said about you.
Yes.
Look, he plays the piano very well. You know what you should do? Buy a piano. Right. We bought a piano. How we got that money, I don't know. It was a few $100s. Right.
But that was also when I was 5 years old.
All right.
So it's 55 years ago.
No, I don't care, but that was a lot of
I know,
money.
That's what I'm saying.
And then we were told that's one of the best pianos.
Yeah, it was a good piano.
It was a good piano.
But I was just thinking, like when I even thinking back about like in 1966 or 67, I was going to Bronx House, and Ronald was able to stay up late to watch a new television show that was on called Star Trek, you know. So it's like, to me, these kind of memories, you know, are like stuck in my mind, you know. It's just, it's amazing, like you say, looking at the New York Times and looking at the car ads and stuff like that.
That's one of the big reasons I saved those. The events are important.
Yeah, well, I know that you have all those, you have a couple of copies of when Kennedy was shot. I remember that.
Well, I have newspapers.
I know. And those things are probably, you know, valuable things.
Yeah.
You know what my father-in-law had, which is interesting. He used to be, my father-in-law Norman Liss used to be in charge of advertising, or not for promotion, and I guess advertising for Topps. And Topps is, they used to make bazooka bubble gum, but they also, they make bazooka bubble gum, but they also did baseball cards.
Yeah.
And we have uncut sheets of of all baseball cards for many years. He had hundreds of them. He used to give them away. You know, these things are like, they don't make them anymore, you know?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Let's go back about 70 years from you,
Right.
when you weren't even thought about.
Right.
What happened with us? There are 4 seasons.
Right.
Each season, now seriously, had a different kind of a game that the kids would play on the sidewalk, on the gutter, and everything else.
We've said this about 12 times, but I want to hear it again.
And these baseball, they had, before baseball cards, there were strips of cartoons.
I know.
And the little saying, oh, Winnie Winkle does the Periwinkle, and the Cats and Jammer Kids.
Yeah.
And we would tear them up, and we became gamblers.
I know.
We would sit in and the T, it becomes a T, and then it becomes a R. And eventually, we had so many, we had 5 a pot, meaning we were pressed down hard, and all these cards had that many cards. And if the winner wins 5, wins the whole stack.
Right.
I told that to I don't remember. But what do you do when you have unbelievable? At that time, we wore knickers.
I know.
And the first thing everybody did, cut the pockets, fill up our knickers, and come upstairs and get a beating from
Right, because you'd fill up from your knickers. You'd have all
the knickers. We had all the pictures, and then a little later, we advanced, like you say, to baseball cards, or something. You ended up with actors and
then girls.
Actors and actresses.
I know.
And the cards were, Alan, again, for me, life kept on going. Life was a good thing. And that, again, I have to put a...
Please.
We had no money, none of us in the whole block, and every block, I don't think none of us knew we were poor, because we weren't poor. What would happen? Again, it's good to remember where a holiday would happen or something, and my mother would, not only my mother, on every floor, somebody would come with a pot of food and give us a portion, and then go next to them, give them a portion. My mother would, she'd like to, whatever she'd like to do. And Alan, we had from Romania and from Poland and from this and from the.
It was a good life, right?
And we had a wonderful life, Alan. We really had a wonderful.
I wish, if they could only really have a time machine, I would love to go back and see your parents and you when you were younger. I mean, I see pictures of you and, the shocking dark hair and like a thin guy with muscles and all this stuff.
I was a thin guy, Al.
I know you were.
I mean, that kind of picture when I'm got.
I know, that is the greatest picture in the world. I love that picture. Yeah. Just to see you in action, I would do anything. I would love to see you as a young man.
We had, eventually when we moved, we didn't move. We moved from this on 136th Street. Right. We moved from Brook Avenue in St. Anne's. We moved from St. Anne's to Cypress.
Right.
Still on 136th Street, but maybe for $5 more rent. And and that helped me go on the corner. I graduated public school. I went to James Monroe High School.
Right.
Why? On 136th Street in Cypress Avenue, there was a school, PS9, whatever it was.
Right.
We had, what was the name of the school I said?
The high school.
The high school, James Monroe.
Right.
James Monroe High School had an annex.
Right.
I'm going to go to high school. We walk over there. No, really.
Right.
And we had, for 2 years, we had a wonderful time. Why? Because we were together. And after that, we had to take the subway.
You know, one thing you always say, we had a wonderful time. About whenever you discuss anything about your life, you always say, wonderful time.
Even though I forgot,
Yes.
at that time when we were having, we really had a good, why? We were friends with, not only we, everybody was friends with anybody else.
Right.
And the living, we didn't expect too much more because my father would have a shirt ironer,
Right.
and he couldn't make a,
I know,
he couldn't make
I
a
know.
penny more. That iron weighed about 10
I
pounds.
know.
And not only that, there's a fire going, and he had to take a stick,
I know.
turn it upside down and put it in water so they could have a, Alan.
We know these. We will know. Everyone who ever watches this show will know almost everything about you that you remember. It's great because I mean, it's an interesting life. You've seen a lot. 100 years. I mean, it's There was like no. I mean, there was what was technology when you were a kid? You know, the radio. I don't know.
Not only the radio, we didn't have a radio. The janitor was given 2 radios, and he came up to my to our house and gave us a radio, and we had a radio.
Did you used to listen to the radio with the family?
What did we listen to? Again, and I brought up my children, not you, David, Miriam, and
me.
An Alan. David, Miriam, Alan.
Wait a second, I'm one of your kids.
Folk music.
All right.
Classical music.
But did they have folk music in the 20s on the radio?
Definitely.
Oh, okay.
Folk music. Pete Seeger.
Well, Pete Seeger wasn't. He was 5 years old.
But when?
In the 20s, he wasn't doing it in the 20s because he was younger than you.
Woody Guthrie and all of them.
Not in the 20s. Because they were your age. In other words, Pete Seeger was younger than you. So if you were 10 years old in the 20s, Pete Seeger wasn't playing the guitar in the 20s. So it had to be in the 30s. But I'm talking about when you were younger. Did you guys have a radio?
No. We listened to classical music.
That must have been.
Right. First of all, my mother spoke Russian.
Did they have Jewish music on the radio?
Oh, please excuse me, Alan. Every Sunday, Alan, Sunday, Joe and Paul, they're selling suits.
Yeah.
This one is doing this. And
on the radio?
On the radio.
Yeah.
There was also one big religious program.
Right.
A Jewish boy must have a Jewish girl. Alan, no kidding.
Really?
That was a big program, very bigger than some of the advertisements. And this is
propaganda.
A good word.
Right.
That's propaganda. And why? Because there must have been a lot of intermarriage.
Right.
And they didn't like the idea. But so Jewish, and they had some beautiful Jewish programs. Yeah. And again, what is it? They had.
Did they have comedies and things like that, or on the radio?
I don't remember.
Right.
But
they must have.
On holidays, the Jewish music was unbelievable because of the.
But you also, and you used to go to like the. I mean, I can't believe we came into this direction. But when you were a kid, you used to go to the movies, right? I mean.
It's unbelievable. I once asked you and the rest of them that I wanted to go downtown with the subway.
Right.
And there's a science building there, and I wanted to give, to show the children that. Yeah. And I'll never forget Miriam or you or whatever. you'll never take my children in them subway.
Oh, that's it. It was me. No, it was Wendy. But I tell you,
meaning. Now look, now the subway I couldn't take the kids, but I went to Arizona. When I went to to Canada to see the World's Fair, we had. How could I have ever taken? I'll never, Alan. I go crazy when. How could I ever have taken 2 kids
to California several times?
Several times. And what was their best thing? Finally came to eat. So I go to McDonald's. And where would I go in? I go into the exit entrance. Zadie, you're in the...
Going in the wrong way.
It's not that I knew I was doing. Well, that's the exit. I go right in there. And Alan, we had a wonderful...
I'll tell you, Mike and Gaby, who you took to visit me in California,
yes,
they got such an unbelievable, like, no one has that kind of experience, right? I mean, who goes to Hollywood? I remember Gaby coming on the set of Cagney and Lacey, and, you know, I'm introducing, he's walking around with this book that says The Great Brain, and, you know, we got him a hat from Cagney and Lacey and all this other stuff, and he met all the guys on the show. It was crazy. Who does that?
All right. Let's talk about something about just what they... What right? And I'm saying, even it's over. I mean, they made me a great grandfather.
Right.
What right did I have to take 2 kids?
You didn't, but Mimi. The idea. How did Mimi trust you?
No, wait. Yeah, I know what. Wait, that Miriam could say to me, "Pop, I want you to take them out."
Right.
And where was the first stop we went? The first stop I'll never forget. Mount Rushmore.
Oh, really?
And when we saw that, everything. But Alan, we had kids. We were going to, and I make a commercial. Motel 6.
I know.
I lived in Motel 6 across the United States.
I know, and one thing I remember Mom always saying, she loved the hillbilly sound of the commercial on the radio. That was what Mommy used to say. May Mommy rest in peace, you know. But she loved that commercial for Motel 6 on the radio.
I'm telling you, look, I said that to everybody where I am, in Kittay House. Motel 6, they don't stop this. We talked about this many times.
Yeah.
So we start out in a used car and everything. Yeah. And what were they scared of, my children? That I'm going to kill myself driving.
Right.
So we went on Route 80.
Better talk quickly, Pop.
We went on Route 80, we're riding, right. All of a sudden, boom, Motel 6. I stopped. We went to less than 300 miles. Right. 300 miles, Alan.
Right, I know.
And I told, they thought I'm going to go by 7.
Right.
And little by little, we went from this Motel 6 to that Motel 6.
Right. It was a good deal. The rooms were good.
It was a good deal. It was cheap.
I remember. And I just remember I would be waiting for you in Hollywood to knock on the door, you know, and it was life was good. It was nice. I introduced you to everybody that I knew, all the people in Hollywood. I got you on the shows.
It was,
right?
So before we came to see you, what did I know? Not Hollywood and Ryan, Chaits and it's the wrong thing. There's like Hollywood and Vine, you know, and near Berkeley, there's a...
Oh, yeah, it's...
wherever it's called.
Right, whatever it's called, Pop, guess what? And I know what you're trying to say, and I can't think of it, but it's in San Francisco. But the bad part is that, you know, even though we can continue it next month, you know why?
All right.
Because I got one thing left to say. That's a wrap. Good night, folks.